The distress beacon had been broadcasting for 17 standard days when Captain Elena Vasquez finally located its source on the Hell's Cape that was Kithra 7. Through the reinforced viewport of the rescue shuttle Resilience, she could see the twisted wreckage of what had once been the luxury cruise liner Galactic Harmony, now scattered across a landscape that defied every safety protocol in known space. "Atmospheric readings are off the charts," reported Lieutenant Chin from the co-pilot seat, his voice tight with concern. "Sulfuric acid rain, temperature variations of 60 degrees Celsius, seismic activity that would crack most starship hulls, and the air is barely breathable even with filters." "Life signs?" Elena asked, though she wasn't hopeful. Kithra 7 was classified as a Class 14 death world, the kind of planet that killed survey teams in environmental suits within hours. "Impossible as it sounds, yes." 17 distinct biological signatures, all clustered in what appears to be a makeshift shelter near the ship's stern section. Elena felt a surge of admiration for whatever survivors had managed to stay alive on this nightmare world for over 2 weeks. "Take us down, Chin." Emergency landing protocols. The Resilience touched down on what might generously be called stable ground, though the constant tremor suggested otherwise. Elena and her rescue team, Sergeants Rodriguez and Park, emerged in full environmental gear, their equipment struggling to compensate for the planet's hostile atmosphere. The makeshift shelter was a marvel of desperate engineering. Someone had used debris from the crashed ship to create a sealed environment, complete with improvised air filtration and what appeared to be a working water reclamation system. But it was the sounds coming from inside that stopped Elena in her tracks. Laughter, music, the unmistakable buzz of civilized conversation. "This is Captain Vasquez of Earth Search and Rescue," she announced through the shelter's improvised communication system. "We're here to get you out." The response came in multiple languages, the melodic chimes of Eltarian, the harmonic clicks of crystalline speech, the deep rumbles of Zephyrian communication, all overlapping in obvious excitement. The shelter's crude airlock cycled open, revealing a sight that Elena would remember for the rest of her life. 17 beings from 9 different species, all looking remarkably healthy and optimistic despite having spent 2 weeks in conditions that should have killed them within hours. But what caught Elena's attention was how they were organized around 3 figures in the center, humans in civilian clothing who appeared to be coordinating some kind of community meeting. "Dr. James Morrison," said a middle-aged man with calloused hands and dirt under his fingernails. "Agricultural engineer. This is my colleague Dr. Sarah Kim, environmental systems specialist, and Marcus Torres, our survival instructor." Elena stared at them in disbelief. "You've been keeping 17 people alive on Kithra 7 for 2 weeks? Well," Dr. Morrison said with a sheepish grin, "it's not exactly a vacation resort, but we've managed to make it work." What Elena discovered over the next hour challenged every assumption she'd ever made about survival in extreme environments. The humans hadn't just kept the group alive, they had organized them into a thriving community. Dr. Kim had jerry-rigged the ship's environmental systems to create a sustainable ecosystem within their shelter. Dr. Morrison had somehow coaxed edible plants from the ship's hydroponic gardens to grow in the hostile soil. Marcus had trained everyone in survival techniques that most galactic species had never needed to learn. "But how?" Elena asked, watching a young Eltarian demonstrate the water purification system to an elderly crystalline. "This planet's atmospheric pressure alone should have killed half your group." Dr. Kim laughed. "Captain, my family used to go camping in the Rocky Mountains every summer. Compared to a Colorado thunderstorm at 3,000 meters, this is just exciting weather." Elena looked around the shelter, noting the improvised workshops where aliens from species that had never spoken to each other before were collaborating on survival projects. A Zephyrian warrior was learning to weave baskets from local plant fibers under the guidance of an ethereal philosopher. A group of mechanids had formed a maintenance crew, keeping their improvised systems running under Marcus's cheerful supervision. "The remarkable thing," said Velterra, an elderly serpentine diplomat, approaching Elena with obvious reverence, "is not just that the humans saved our lives. It's that they taught us to save ourselves." Dr. Morrison overheard and shook his head. "We didn't save anyone. We just shared what we knew. Every species here brought something valuable to the group." "But you showed us it was possible," insisted Keth9, a young crystalline whose species rarely left their climate-controlled worlds. "When we first crashed, we believed we were dead. We prepared for the end. But the humans, they looked at this place and saw opportunity." Elena realized what she was witnessing wasn't just a rescue story. It was a transformation. These beings had survived something that should have been impossible, and in the process, they had learned something about themselves they never knew existed. "Captain," Dr. Morrison said, noticing her expression, "I hope you brought a big ship. We've got 17 new friends who are going to need transport. And," added Dr. Kim with a mischievous smile, "fair warning, they're all going to want to visit Earth after this. Apparently, word's gotten out that if Kithra 7 is just exciting weather to us, our home planet must be quite the adventure." Elena looked around the shelter one more time, watching species that had lived in isolation for millennia working together with the easy camaraderie of old friends. The humans hadn't just brought survival skills to this group. They had brought something far more valuable. They had brought the idea that impossible things were just problems waiting to be solved. As the rescue operation began, Elena couldn't help but smile. The galaxy was about to get very interesting. 17 beings had just learned that humans didn't just survive on death worlds. They made them feel like home. And they were all eager to share that lesson with anyone willing to listen.